Golden Doves, class 175. We're on the top of page 98. We're reading, we were reading from Yigeret Sharira Gaon, and the idea that the Torah Alpe didn't have a fixed formulation, and therefore each teacher would teach the ideas in the Torah Alpe, the legal concepts, as he wished to, meaning in terms of the choice of words chosen. So prior to the destruction of the temple, there were very few controversies among the rabbis, as they knew that different formulations which they studied and transmitted did not imply any difference in substance, right? So all the Hachamim understood, okay, there's no mahloket on this matter between Shammai and between Hillel, for example, but Shammai says A, B, C, and Hillel says B, C, D. It's just a different way of formulating the same idea, right? Different words chosen to express the same concept. The situation changed radically with the destruction of the temple and later on with the destruction of the academy at Biter, right? So once the Bet HaMikdash was destroyed and Sanhedrin began to decline and the yeshiva in Biter was destroyed in the Bar Kokhba, the massacre that took place pursuant to the Bar Kokhba revolution, which was, I think, about 50 years after the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash, things just began to become confused. Scholars were scattered, and students could no longer mature at the feet of their masters, hoping to grasp fully the substance of the formulas which they had learned. Right. So obviously, in times of persecution and horrible massacres of the Jews, the Talmidim could no longer study Torah with their teachers. So the Talmidim knew the formulation. So a Talmid of Rabbi X would have one formulation, a Talmid of Rabbi Y would have another formulation. The Talmidim mistakenly thought that there's a mahloket between Rabbi X and Rabbi Y. Rabbi X says this, Rabbi Y says that. And that was because they didn't have the chance to study properly and understand the meanings of the words. So it's almost like they got to the Girsah level, right? Remember the first level? But they didn't get to the Gamir level, where they understand the concept properly. When the number of disciples who did not minister to follow, learn from their masters increased sufficiently, taught the rabbis, controversy proliferated in Israel, right? Where is that, by the way? Where in the Gemara is that found? So let's see, page the footnote number 9. Footnote number 9 for page 98. We'll see it now. That is in Sanhedrin, Pe Tet Amud Aleph, right? And the footnote continues. Accordingly, the rabbis warned against teaching the text of the oral law, al yishnet, an improper student, right? So you're not supposed to teach the text to a talmid she'eno harun. Such a student can interrupt the studies before grasping the meaning of a formula and explain them not in accordance with their original intention, right? And then you got to have supposed Talmidei Chachamim teaching things that are nonsensical. So you can't just teach Torah to anybody in the sense of teaching Torah for a person to become a Talmid Chacham, Moreh Hora'ah, unless he's really serious. You understand? Because if he's not serious, then, I mean, look, unfortunately, many of the legal material of the Haronim is a bit confused because the legal methodology is a bit dubious, right? And you have all these, unusual pesakim and attitudes and machlokot and. Okay, so now continuing in Yigeret Sharira Gaon, which says, upon the destruction of the temple, they went to Biter, right? Biter, that's where they reorganized the yeshiva. Biter was also destroyed in the Bar Kokhba revolution. The rabbis were scattered in every direction because of the convulsions, persecutions, and general confusion prevalent at the time. Disciples could not minister sufficiently, and controversies increased. So very interesting how Rav Sharira Gaon, he explains to us why it is that after the destruction of Biter there were many machlokot. Before that, you didn't see so many machlokot. The principal figure behind the entire project of redacting the Mishnah was Rabbi Akiva in his school. As a matter of who lived during the days of Beit Sheni, by the way, he must have been very old because he was alive in the days of Beit Sheni, and he continued to live through to the Bar Kokhba revolution. As a matter of fact, one finds at the very concept of Mishnah the methods to accomplish this goal, the style in which such a text must be formulated. and the apparatus required for its transmission all stem from Rabbi Akiva and his disciples. That's fascinating. So it was Rabbi Akiva who really started this whole movement of making mishnayot, formulating halachot, that these halachot would sort of be currency that anybody could use and state with authority. The concept of mishnah, in the sense of an official formulation of the oral law, accepted by all schools and teachers, was first discussed by Rabbi Akiva's students. So you see Rabbi Akiva's talmidim, they discussed the idea of having a fixed halachot, that anybody can quote those halachot, and we all know what those halachot mean, so the halachot become almost like currency, interchangeable. To realize this goal, Rabbi Akiva collected, verified, classified, and formulated the oral law as it was taught in the various schools by different teachers. And this is now quoting. To what might Rabbi Akiva be likened? To a laborer who took his basket and went forth to collect food. When he found wheat, he put some in the basket. When he found barley, he put that in. Spelt, he put that in. Lentils, he put them in. Upon returning home, he sorted out the wheat by itself, the barley by itself, the beans by themselves, the lentils by themselves, right? This is how Rabbi Akiva acted, and he minted the whole Torah as coins. You see, that idea is a beautiful idea, because there was so many baraitot and there was no set formulation. It wasn't even a set structure. How do you organize this material, right? So he began to organize and structure. So we have the Seder Zera'im, Seder Moed, etc. Coins, I love this. This is such a great chidush. Coins must be understood in the sense of formulations, because the matbea has a very specific amount of whatever metal it represents, whether it's gold, silver, copper, right? It's very specific, and it has a very specific seal, right? These formulations were precise and concise, and included both general principles and specific cases. Finally, right. Example of general principle, and the actual cases, right. Finally, the term Tanna, in the sense of an official reciter and transmitter of the Mishnah, the essential agent of oral tradition, appears for the first time among his disciples. That's very interesting. So the very idea of a Tanna, and Tanna is those people who would have perfect girsah, and they would remember these official formulations, so that if you want to know what an official formulation was, you would go to the Tanna that had authority. So this happens in the days of the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. This project was brought to a successful completion several generations later by Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, who adopted Rabbi Akiva's methodology as it was developed by his greatest student, Rabbi Meir. So Rabbi Meir developed the methodology of Rabbi Akiva and further developed the organization of the Torah Alpe into Ser Halachot, into Mishnayot, and then Rabbeinu Kadosh finished the project. His work was known as the Mishnah. It was immediately accepted by all the sages living in the Holy Land as the most authoritative formulation of the oral law, relegating to the status of Baraita, non-authoritative formulas, all other formulation. So you only have Baraitot after Mishnayot, because a Baraita is relative to a Mishnah. The Mishnah is the official formulation made by the Rabbeinu Kadosh, which everybody recognized and accepted, and Baraita is any halacha, a formulation, which was not put into the Mishnah, and therefore doesn't have the same status as the Mishnayot. A more or less similar process took place later on with the redaction of the Babylonian Talmud. And here he refers to page 47. Right? Let's take a quick look at page 47. That's going backwards. Not sure. Maybe page 47 of some other book, obviously. Let's see. Yeah, you got a Shirira Gaon. Okay, so you got a Shirira Gaon discusses that. Sorry. Ooh, okay. If I can have some gong music in the background, I would do it now. Okay. Let's continue. Finally, the term Tanna, we said that. This project, right? Contrary to the common opinion, the object of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi was not to produce a legal code. Right, he wasn't producing a book of Pesach Halacha. People misunderstand the Mishnah completely. Prior to the formulation of the Mishnah, there were halachot considered to be corrupt, right? Halachot means formulations of oral law, right? And some of these halachot were considered to be corrupt. There was something faulty in the language of the halachot. His object was to produce a text that the rabbis could recite uniformly in the same words and composition, rather than each one reciting a different composition, right? And that's also Yigadah Shigagon. His aim was pedagogical, an authoritative and uniform redaction of the oral law that would be effectively taught by teachers and memorized by students. The purpose here was not to make Pesach Halacha. The purpose here was for all the teachers and all the Talmidim and all the yeshivot to have the same formulation of the oral law, and then they can discuss those formulations, and all the discussions will revolve around those formulations which were authoritative. The Mishnah is the most authoritative depository of the Halacha, Aramaic Hilcheta. Thus, Mishnah and Halacha became synonyms. Hilcheta is our Mishnah, formulated by our holy teacher Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. He instituted, that is, fixed the text authoritatively, the Hilcheta and its Mishnah. The text, therefore, is not subject to revision. You can't revise the Mishnah. You can say, oh, but the Halacha is like this. It doesn't make a difference. Mishnayot is not a book of Pesach Halacha. One can neither delete from it nor make further additions. We have definitely seen that the 6 orders of the Mishnah were edited by our holy teacher, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, as it is recited by the rabbis, one hilcheta after the other. One can neither add nor remove anything from it. Very interesting. Alav en leosif umimenu en ligroa. And the reason she'alav en leosif umimenu ligroa, because Rabbeinu HaKadosh, talking to Rabbi Akiva, they analyze these halachot, the formulations. Sometimes they had to re-edit the formulations inside the Mishnah, but they very carefully and meticulously formulated the Mishnah as an authoritative expression of the halachot of the Torah Shebe Alpe. And then all discussions, they start with the Mishnah, including discussions of the related topic of what's the Pesach Halacha. All right.